You didn't stumble onto this video by chance. You didn't just happen to click. You were pulled here because somewhere, deep in your reality, there's already a version of you who is wealthy beyond what you've imagined so far. That version of you isn't worried about bills. They aren't counting coins. They aren't hoping that one day, maybe, they'll get their big break. No, that version of you already has it. And when you clicked this video, you sent a signal that you're ready to align with that version, not someday in the future, but right now. Let me be clear. I'm not talking about positive thinking for the sake of a quick mood boost. I'm talking about embodying a truth so deeply that reality has no choice but to match it. It's the law of assumption in its purest form. And if you've ever wondered how people seem to always land on their feet, or always have money come to them, this is the frequency they live in. They act as if everything always works out for them, not because they're naive, not because they ignore problems, but because they understand that reality is a mirror, and that mirror responds to your assumption, not your wishes. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I hope this works out," and then watched it not work out? How many times have you been desperate for money and watched it get further away? It's not because you're unlucky. It's because hoping and wanting are the energy of "I don't have it yet." Neville Goddard taught that your assumption, when persisted in, hardens into fact. That means if you assume large sums of money flow to me easily, and you live from that state instead of chasing it, you begin to notice opportunities, connections, and events that pull that reality toward you. But here's where most people trip up. They try to fake it. They say the words, but underneath their body is still braced in doubt. They act confident for a few hours, but the moment something looks off in their external world, they collapse back into their old state. You have to understand, acting as if is not a performance. It's not about pretending. It's about remembering and embodying a truth that already exists in the unseen. Right now, you are already connected to the version of you who has millions in the bank, who wakes up every day knowing money is never an issue, who gets unexpected deposits, gifts, and financial breakthroughs without strain. That version of you is real. In the quantum field, it already exists. Your only job is to tune into it and live from it now. This is why I say, you didn't just find this video. It found you. Because you're ready. Because you're at that tipping point where the old story, the one where money is hard, unpredictable, or scarce, no longer fits. Let's be honest. How many times have you seen repeating numbers lately? How many times has a song lyric hit you at the exact moment you needed it? How many little coincidences have been whispering, "Pay attention"? Those aren't random. They're markers on the path. Signs that your reality is aligning with a different frequency. One where money comes easily, where things line up without struggle. But to lock into that frequency, you need to stop waiting for proof. You need to stop saying, "I'll believe it when I see it," and start saying, "I see it because I believe it." And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to guide you into the act-as-if state so deeply that you can't not experience the shift. And once that shift happens, large sums of money have no choice but to start appearing in your life. Because your reality is simply responding to who you're being. Here's my promise. If you stay with me until the end, you'll leave with a different energy than you came in with. You'll walk differently. You'll breathe differently. And that subtle shift is what flips your money reality faster than any technique ever could. Now, I want to plant one seed in your mind before we go further. What if the amount of money you desire is already assigned to you? What if it's not about chasing it, but about stepping into the version of you who already has it and letting it catch up? Most people live their whole lives in the waiting room, waiting for conditions to be perfect before they feel worthy, confident, or abundant. But what if you skipped the line? What if you walked straight into the room where your future self is sitting, leaned in, and said, "All right, I'm here. Let's go." Because here's the thing. You don't manifest large sums of money by staring at your bank account in frustration. You manifest them by living as though the money is already yours. And when you genuinely live from that state, not as a performance, but as your baseline, reality bends to meet you. So before we go deeper, I want you to try something. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine logging into your account and seeing an amount so high it almost makes you laugh. Feel that. Here's something you need to hear. Money doesn't show up because you need it. It shows up because you've matched the state of already having it. This is why you can meet two people with the same skill set, the same opportunities, and the same intelligence, and one of them thrives financially while the other barely survives. It's not luck, it's not fate, it's the state they live in every single day. Think about the wealthiest person you know of. Not just the number in their account, but how they carry themselves. Notice how they move through the world. They're not frantic, they're not grasping, they're steady. Because in their mind, large sums of money are just a normal part of life. This is the key most people miss when they try to act as if. They put on a temporary mask, a few affirmations, a confident posture, but underneath, their nervous system is still running the program of lack. And here's the hard truth. The universe responds to the truth of your vibration, not the performance of it. That's why we have to go deeper than surface-level pretending. We need to wire the wealth state into your body so deeply that it becomes your default, even when you're not thinking about it. Let me show you how. I want you to imagine something right now, but do it differently this time. Don't picture winning the lottery or finding a bag of cash. Instead, picture an ordinary Tuesday morning in the life of your wealthy self. You wake up. There's no urgency in your chest. The sun is coming through your window. You stretch, take your time. You already know your bills are handled, your accounts are full, and more is coming without effort. What's the first thing you do? Do you reach for your phone to check a balance you already know is huge? Do you get dressed and step into clothes that fit perfectly and feel expensive? Do you make coffee and scroll through property listings, not to dream, but to decide? Feel the normalcy of it. That's the secret. For wealthy people, wealth isn't an event, it's a baseline. When you make that your baseline, the chase stops. And when the chase stops, the receiving starts. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." He wasn't saying to force yourself to be happy or ignore your current reality. He was saying to move your inner world into the finished version of your desire and stay there long enough for the outer world to catch up. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. But if I have bills due tomorrow, how do I act like I already have large sums of money? Here's the shift. You don't ignore the bill. You pay it from the state of, this is just a minor outgoing, and more is coming in immediately. You make that payment with the same emotional tone you'd use if you were a millionaire paying for lunch. Because money has no meaning except the meaning you give it. When you treat it as scarce, it plays scarce in your reality. When you treat it as abundant, it flows. And yes, I know this can feel uncomfortable at first. Your logical mind will argue. It will say, but I can't see it yet. And that's exactly why we're doing this. Because the moment you start making decisions as the version of you who already has it, you step onto a different timeline. Here's something fascinating. Before any physical reality shows up, it has to pass through your energy field. You start to feel little nudges. Opportunities begin circling. Random people cross your path. Ideas pop into your head out of nowhere. This is the pre-manifestation phase most people don't recognize. And because they don't recognize it, they dismiss it. They go back to doubting, and the energy collapses. But the ones who know, they hold steady. They keep walking as if the outcome is inevitable. And guess what? It becomes inevitable. I want you to hear this clearly. When you live in the act-as-if state, you're not convincing the universe. You're convincing yourself. And once you've convinced yourself, reality simply mirrors back the conviction. So here's a little exercise to help you lock this in, starting today. Pick one action you normally do from a place of lack. It could be checking your bank balance, grocery shopping, paying a bill, or deciding whether to go out. Decide how your wealthy self would do it. Would they check their balance with excitement? Would they shop without scanning every price tag? Would they tip generously without overthinking? Do that action today from the wealthy state, even if it's small, even if it's symbolic. Because each time you do this, you teach your nervous system, this is who I am now. And the more you teach it, the faster your reality adapts. Here's the beautiful part. Once this becomes natural, you won't need to remind yourself anymore. You'll simply be the person who expects large sums of money to arrive. And because you expect it, it does. So for the rest of today, I want you to play with this. Every time you catch yourself thinking, I hope this works out, switch it to, this always works out for me. Every time you feel like waiting for proof, switch it to, the proof is catching up to me right now. The more you practice this, the closer we get to the moment. The moment I'll reveal in segment 4. That turns this from a mental exercise into a quantum shift. Let's be honest. The moment you clicked this video, something shifted. Not because of me, not because of the words, but because you recognized yourself in the energy. You're not here by chance. You're here because you're already in motion toward the reality where large sums of money aren't something you chase. They're something you live inside of. Now, here's where most people sabotage that momentum. They try to control how it's going to happen. They obsess over timelines, over exact amounts, over whether it's going to come from a job, an investment, a win, or a surprise. And in doing that, they actually step out of the already done state and into the still waiting state. Think about it. If you already had millions in the bank, would you be pacing the floor wondering how the next payment is going to show up? No. You'd be planning, moving, enjoying, making decisions from overflow. You'd be thinking about how to use your money, not how to get it. That's the subtle but massive shift we're making here. It's the difference between energy that attracts and energy that repels. Neville Goddard taught that when you assume a state, truly assume it, you no longer look for signs of it. You simply walk through life as if the reality is already here, and that walking becomes the magnet. You're not attracting from a place of wanting, you're attracting from a place of being. This is why act as if isn't a game of pretending. It's not about faking confidence or buying things you can't afford just to look the part. It's about shifting into the inner posture where wealth is your normal. And here's what happens when you do that consistently. The quantum field starts rearranging itself around you. People start showing up with opportunities. Money you forgot about comes back to you. Things you once thought were too big start looking perfectly reasonable. But, and this is important, you have to keep yourself from sliding back into the old frequency. Because the old frequency will whisper, this is taking too long. What if it doesn't happen? What if I'm just fooling myself? And every time you listen to that, you're stepping out of the wealthy reality and back into the waiting room. So here's how you stay anchored. You make the wealthy version of you the most familiar version of you. You rehearse their reactions. You speak their language. You feel their feelings. Let me give you an example. If your wealthy self gets an unexpected bill, do they panic? No, they pay it and move on, because they know more is always flowing in. If your wealthy self walks into a store, do they scan the price tag before deciding? No, they decide based on preference, not fear. If your wealthy self gets offered an opportunity, do they hesitate for weeks, worried about, what if it doesn't work out? No, they make bold moves because they trust themselves. And you can start practicing that today in small ways. You don't have to leap into massive risk to signal wealth. You can do it with your tone of voice, with the way you walk, with the way you answer, how are you? Try answering, things always work out for me. Say it enough times and watch how the world starts to believe you, because you believe you. Now, I know some of you might still be thinking, but if I don't see the money yet, how can I live like I already have it? Here's the truth. Every reality exists in potential form before you can touch it. It's already here in the invisible. Your job is to keep your frequency steady long enough for the physical to catch up. And the closer it gets, the stranger the signs become. You might start hearing the same phrase from random strangers. You might keep noticing a certain number sequence. Over and over. You might have a dream so vivid that you wake up feeling like it already happened. These aren't random. They're the edges of the new reality brushing against you. They're the proof you've stepped onto the bridge. But the bridge only leads one way. If you keep walking. If you stop and question, you risk turning back. That's why this part of the process is so crucial. It's easy to stay confident after the money hits your account. It's a whole different level of mastery to hold the frequency before it arrives. That's what separates people who manifest once from people who manifest over and over. So for the rest of today, I want you to act in ways that prove to yourself it's already done. Not to prove it to the universe, to prove it to you. Walk into your kitchen like you own the house and the land under it. Order your coffee like someone who could buy the cafe if they felt like it. Check your emails like every single one could be good news. Because here's the thing. One day soon, you'll do these same actions, and they will match your bank account. And it will feel normal. Because you've been living it all along. And somewhere in that moment, you'll realize the money didn't change you. You changed you. The money just followed. You've held the line this far. You've kept walking in the reality where wealth already belongs to you. And because of that, you're ready for something most people never reach. The actual click. The moment where the inner switch flips and reality can't help but rearrange to match it. I told you earlier we weren't going to rush this moment. We've been building toward it. You've been building toward it your whole life. So here it is. The phrase. The frequency key that, when you speak it, you're not just saying words, you're locking into the vibration of already having. Wealth already knows where I live. Say it once, slowly, not as a wish, not as something you're trying to believe. Say it as a fact. Because here's the thing. This isn't about asking. It's not even about convincing yourself. It's about recognizing what's already true in the unseen. The money, the opportunities, the windfalls, they've been orbiting you, waiting for an open signal. And that phrase is your beacon. Now let's talk about why it works. When you say, wealth already knows where I live, you remove all chasing energy. You remove the idea that you have to find it or earn it. You place yourself in the position of the chosen, the claimed, the one who is sought out. Think about the difference. If you're chasing something, you're always one step behind. If it's already coming to you, you can relax. And in that relaxation, you open the exact channels it needs to arrive. Neville Goddard would call this living in the end. You speak from the reality as it is, not as you hope it will be. You bypass the middle entirely and step into the finish line. This is why the timing matters. When you first hear a phrase like this, you might feel excitement, but you also might feel resistance. That's okay. Your old self will try to pull you back to familiar territory. Doubt, worry, overthinking. But the more you speak it, the more your nervous system adjusts. And eventually, wealth already knows where I live feels no different than saying your own name. Let's make it physical right now. Sit up straighter, shoulders back. Breathe in and say it again. Wealth already knows where I live. Feel the weight of that. Feel how it shifts your body without you even trying. That's not just mindset. That's frequency embodiment. And here's where most people go wrong. They treat phrases like this as magic spells. They say them a few times, then go right back to acting broke, thinking broke, moving broke. That breaks the signal. You, on the other hand, are going to hold it. All day. Every time you take an action, you're going to filter it through that identity. If wealth already knows where I live, how do I answer the phone? If wealth already knows where I live, how do I respond to emails? If wealth already knows where I live, what's my tone of voice, my posture, my decision-making process? Because here's the truth. Wealth doesn't come to people who are still broadcasting, I need. It comes to people broadcasting, I have. And the moment you step into that, the strangest things start to happen. A forgotten invoice gets paid. A friend offers you an opportunity you weren't looking for. You stumble onto an idea that turns into something big. It's not luck. It's alignment. And if you've been noticing signs, those repeating numbers, those little nudges, those moments where it feels like the world is winking at you, that's confirmation you're already syncing up. This is not a warm-up anymore. You're in the game. Now, I want you to understand something powerful. The phrase itself is just the door. The real transformation happens when you walk through and stay there. Because once you truly believe wealth knows where you live, you stop sending out lost signals. You stop looking desperate. You stop acting like you're in a constant audition for abundance. And the universe notices. It's like seeing a lighthouse beam cut through fog. Undeniable. Impossible to miss. That's you. Right now. In the quantum field. So here's your commitment. For the next 7 days, you're going to live as if this is your baseline truth. Not just say it, but carry it in your body. Every choice, every word, every thought passes through that filter. And I promise you, things will start to move. You'll feel it first, then you'll see it. That's the sequence. Internal, then external. So let's lock it in one more time before we close. Wealth already knows where I live. This isn't just a statement, it's a declaration to yourself, to your future, and to every force that's been waiting for you to step into your real identity. From this moment forward, you don't hope for it. You don't wish for it. You live it. Because it's already yours. And when it shows up in your bank account, you'll smile. Not in surprise, but in recognition. If you're ready to keep walking in this reality, make sure you hit subscribe right now so you don't step out of the frequency. This channel is where we stay in the winner's circle, together. And drop the "wealth already knows where I live" in the comments so the world knows you're not waiting anymore, you're already living it. I hope you enjoyed this video. See Ty in the next one.